So all week long, we've been taking a look back on the year that was politically with each of Quebec's political parties, the major ones at least. And as I look back on the week that was, yesterday we had Eric Duhem from the Conservative Party of Quebec. On Tuesday, we were supposed to speak to the Liberals. That did not work out. We'll speak to the CAQ tomorrow on the program, but today we're giving the opportunity to Québec Solidaire to speak to our listeners. Of course, we had the PQ, by the way, on Monday, and we've invited Guillaume Cliche-Rivard, who's the MNA for Saint-Henri-Sainte-Anne and House Leader for Québec Solidaire, to join us in studio. Guillaume, Mr. Cliche-Rivard, welcome to the program. Appreciate it.
So happy to be here.
So let's talk about the first big political story of Quebec. I guess we have to touch on it because I think it also affords Québec Solidaire with an opening, the chaos in the Liberal Party. What are you taking away from Pablo Rodriguez's resignation?
I think it was inevitable. I think he had to go there. I mean, since the UPAC opened the inquiry officially, I think it was very hard for him, and I didn't see any way how he could get out of it. It's not so positive on the optics with regards to politicians, and I think we all suffer of it anyway, because I mean it brings back the bad years of the Liberal Party, of course. It brings out the Charest era. It brings out all those questions about all politicians. And I think he did the right choice today, but there's so much more and so much effect that was done on the whole atmosphere of politics, which, of course, we all suffer. And that's the sad part I take out of it.
So obviously, for Québec Solidaire, this may be an opportunity for you to attract some voters, some disaffected Liberal voters that may be looking for a new party. What's your message to, and again, CJD, you're talking to Anglophones here. What's the Québec Solidaire message to try and get some of those votes?
Well, obviously, I think we did great last election in the Southwest. We took Verdun, we took Saint-Henri-Sainte-Anne, as you mentioned. I think we showed people our very positive inclusion message. I think that's very very important now in Quebec. I think there's not enough party and not enough energy put into fighting for inclusion. I've been immigration critics for many years now, and I've been fighting for the POQ recently, which we've heard. But there's also all the real questions of the cost of living crisis, the housing crisis, groceries. You were mentioning it earlier on the show.
My goodness, our listeners there have something to say about the cost of groceries. They certainly do.
It's being incredibly expensive, and voters and electors and citizens are talking to me about this every day, and I think we're the only party in Parliament mentioning this. Ruba Gazal, our leader, was terrific into asking the Premier what he's going to do for Quebecers, for citizens about this. And I mean, for now, there's no concrete options or solutions he's trying to bring forward, but we're going to keep on pushing.
Your party also, I would say, is in a bit of flux. I mean, if I look at the leadership of your party, now we look to the top. We have Ruba Gazal and Sol Zanetti. You go back a year ago, different faces at the top of the party. So there's been some flux as well with your party. What do you think? You're talking about groceries here, but what do you think about the focus of the party? Some would say that right now the party just wants to be opposition and doesn't really have the hopes of governing and is offering broad enough policies to govern.
It's still our best hope. I mean, we're understanding where we are now, 9% on the polls yesterday. Yeah. I mean, I know where this is, but I still foresee a future for Québec Solidaire. Otherwise, I wouldn't be there. I announced a couple of weeks ago I will be fighting for my seat again in 2026. I see my place doing so much better. We're speaking about the homelessness crisis as well. Nobody's mentioning it, especially here in Centre-Sud, Hochelaga, Maisonneuve, the Southwest. There's so many more things that we should be doing. I really can't believe Québec Solidaire not being in Parliament. That for me makes no sense. I mean, the progressive voice we're bringing should be heard more. I think Quebec now needs solidarity more than ever. I think we need to fight for those voices, and I'm going to be there. I mean, of course we want, and I would wish to be somewhere else. We would wish to be at 20, 25, 30%, of course, aiming for government, but we're going to fight for our values, and we're going to fight for this to be heard better.
How would you describe where you think the winds are blowing in Quebec politically? Some would say the Parti Québécois has gone towards the right. I think the CAQ is trying to find their footing on where they're going. Obviously, you had a conservative party which would describe themselves as right on the right, on that left-center divide. And then there's also flux. You've had MNAs leave your party. Vincent Marissal is now an independent and flirting with the PQ. So how would you view where the winds are blowing in Quebec politically?
In Quebec and everywhere in the world, I believe in Europe as well, we saw this in the States. There's the right wing that's blowing, of course, but I'm sure Quebecers and people here in Montreal and elsewhere, not everybody moved to the right, that's for sure. And there's still a place for a progressive solution here, and we're going to fight and we're going to keep for our values. Québec Solidaire is not going to change its position because the winds are blowing somewhere. That's the very promise we're making to our electors. What you vote for, you will get, and we won't change up to what's happening in the polls. Or we're going to be very core to our values, and that's what Québec Solidaire has made its proof. Manon Massé was very genuine towards what she believes. Françoise David was the same. Gabriel was very as well clear as to what he believes. So our aim and our promise to Quebecers is to remain focused on what we believe.
And of course, Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois, no longer co-spokesperson for the party. He's chosen a different path for himself. And you were just mentioning to me before we came to air, Vincent Marissal, you carpooled. He was your carpool buddy for Montreal to Quebec City commutes. That must have been a real shock when you find out he's leaving.
It was very difficult. It's still difficult. I mean, we're seeing what Liberals are living today. It's the humans behind those politicians. We are affected. I mean, we put some strong faces when we can and when we have to, but behind closed doors, I mean, we still have the same feelings, and it was difficult. Still difficult to believe that.
One of the things because he was very vocal when he did it, he's doing media and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that came out is sort of feeling that it seems like he was saying that Québec Solidaire, that was the party that was going extreme. We can talk about virage à droite on certain political parties, but the message he was sending is that actually it's your outfit, Québec Solidaire, that has become a little too extreme and out of touch. What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, it's Vincent's position. I disagree with. Obviously, I wouldn't be there. I mean, I'm a lawyer. I've been working in the law. I mean, I don't believe myself as being in radical or any extreme or of what sort. I believe I have a very nuanced message. And when I see what Québec Solidaire is doing in Parliament and what we're fighting for, cost of living, housing crisis, homelessness crisis, those topics are not extreme. Those topics are not radical. So
can I give you from my perspective
go ahead.
On this? Is when it comes to so I'm happy to hear you say, I'm going to talk about homelessness and talk about groceries.
Every day.
And I'm like, right, and every day. I like that. And I've talked about this on air. I've mentioned it on social media. There were times where I would go to the Québec Solidaire social media last year, and it was Gaza, Israel, Gaza, Israel, and you could literally it was 9 out of 10 posts. And I said, what is this party doing? And I think that's what maybe Vincent is referencing, and certainly what I'm saying here is when I say, is this party focused on Quebec and the issues that are hurting people when they get home, or are they focused on international issues? And that to me seems extreme.
Which I get. I mean, what's happening in the Near East is extreme. I mean, but however, our main focus remains here. However,
it does.
It does.
But was it last year? This year, 2025?
I mean, I don't exactly know when you're mentioning. And retrospectively, I mean, we could always do better. I mean, we wanted to stand clear as to our position. I think that was understood. I think we're highly condoning what's happening in Gaza and how the genocide was happening and all the crime against humanity.
I just want to say it's not a genocide, and we can go back and forth, but we're not going to turn into that. But I want to just make sure, if you're going to say that on air, I will also say my piece that it's not genocide. You can have your opinion on that, but in my opinion, it's not.
I'm just want to state, it's not for me to decide that. Yeah. It's for the International Court of Justice to decide that. It's for the courts.
And they have not made that determination.
They are not. They have
That's
not.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. So again, it goes on to that. Next year, what will you be focusing on in 2026?
I'll remain focused on what we've been fighting for. Obviously, cost of living. I've mentioned this. I mean, citizens are coming to see us every day asking what they're going to do. I mean, the rent is going to increase again next year. Studies showed up it's going to cost $1,000 more for families to pay their groceries next year. I mean, people are looking at their bank account, not knowing what they're going to do next year. And the very core response to this, or what's going to happen to this, is homelessness. I mean, a third of people in the streets now are lost their apartments or couldn't pay it anymore, and now we have to focus on finding them new rent. I mean, we need to do better to make sure our people stay in their apartments and that they're capable of affording the cost of living.
You've got an opening now, and in about 10 minutes' time, our listeners will be hearing from Pablo Rodriguez. We will take his press conference live. Guillaume Cliche-Rivard is the MNA for Saint-Henri-Sainte-Anne. I know many of you are represented by Guillaume, and he's the House Leader for Québec Solidaire. Merci beaucoup. À la prochaine. That's Guillaume Cliche-Rivard.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.